Hello everybody and welcome back to another episode. Today we're looking at another 35mm rangefinder camera from Konica. I've already done the Konica S model. This is the S2 version. It says on the top, put it around the right way so you can see it. On the top it says Auto S2. It's not an Auto 52, there never was a 52 version, but the S does look a bit like a 5. Fixed lens. But this time it's pretty fast. Actually, it's a 1.8 45mm, and as you can see in there, it's a leaf shuttered camera again. This is a later version, and that can be identified by this this little sticker on the corner here, new loading system. The original S2 didn't have the new loading system. The camera originally was introduced in 1965. You can see quite nice lens coating there with that reflection in the glass. Looks very nice. Obviously we've got flash collection point there on the front. Nice coating on it, very well made, metal camera. Yeah, very nice. This is your focusing. These rangefinders always seem to have these little tabs on them. There is a focusing scale up here, and this is the reference point. Is quite hard to see. I can zoom you in a bit there. You can see the depth of field scale, which is not really particularly useful. Very small to see, but this is where the reference point is, not at the top. So that's it set to infinity, and that's it set to its closest focusing distance, which turns out to be, that's in feet, 3 feet. I'll turn it around this way, you can get a better look at the controls on the top if this will focus. So we see at the front here we have our shutter speed selector, common with leaf shutters. 500th is the fastest that they can go. You don't get 1,000 or 2,000 or 4,000 or 8,000. You need an SLR for one of those sort of speeds. Most leaf shutters, well, they near enough all top out at 500. 250th, 125th, 60th, 30th, 15th, 8th, quarter, half, and we have a B setting as well, and that's the 1 second. That's the wind on lever. Let's let you hear it on 1 second. Very quiet and discreet. Behind that we have the aperture selection ring, so that goes from 1.8, actually it's a bit wider than 1.8, but 1.8 all the usual settings down to f16. This is your self timer lever here. There's usually a flash selector as well somewhere around. Oh yes, we also have the auto setting on this. So that would be a shutter priority camera. You would set the shutter speed that you wanted to use, and it would automatically set the aperture for you. That's where the auto part comes from. A flash sync selector, M for bulbs. Not really used even in the days when this was current. Most people by the 70s had moved on to electronic flash. So that selects for those. You can see down the bottom here it's got a Copal SVS shutter. We're talking of the bottom. We have the past sticker. This is the battery compartment. This is going to focus. Uses a 1.35 mercury cell, so you can I use Wien cells, which are the hearing aid batteries, which are pretty close in voltage. You can also get adapters, so you can use like SR44s, etc. It steps the voltage down. There is a battery check feature here, tripod mount, and push this button in to rewind the film at the end. Because 35mm film, you have to rewind it back into its cartridge before you take it out. Unfortunately in this one the meter doesn't work. ASA settings goes from say 25 through to 400, so not particularly high, but remember this is a mid-60s, so 400 was pretty fast in the mid-60s. Hex non-lens, high quality. This is the metering cell, so obviously it's going to work with filters. The earlier camera had its cells external. Up here I think they were, if I remember right. And with this system, if you put a filter on, it automatically adjusts for the filter being on, because this is behind the filter. See the rangefinder window, and this is the viewfinder window. On the top we have resetting frame counter in the window. Film advance, which is really nice action actually. Threaded shutter release, so you can use a cable release or a little self timer in there if you want. This is the meter readout, and the aperture scale is repeated inside the viewfinder, so it will tell you what aperture it's selecting. If it was working, I need to take the bottom off this camera and have a look and make sure that the power is actually going into the camera and not being lost. Cold shoe, called a cold shoe because there's no flash connections on it. A hot shoe has a flash connection in the middle, that's the difference. Rewind crank, this is how you rewind the film back into the camera when you're finished. So this lever moves the film forward through the camera, this moves it back, but if you want to use this, remember to push the button in on the bottom. This pulls up, you can see it's got a direction arrow on it, and it's got the pull up to open the back, which pretty much became a standard. Here we can see the inside, so we see here Sakura colour. Konica also made their own film. Pressure plate, little roller. Although it doesn't look smooth, that plate is actually beautifully smooth. This is the new loading system on this camera. Fire the shutter off. That should have done. Maybe. Yes, because it's on auto. It's on auto with no batteries. It won't allow you to take a picture or wind on or anything. So here we can see the new loading mechanism. You can see the bit inside seems to rotate. You look inside there, you can see that bit sort of catches the inside part of it. And then we have the sprocket drive, the film gate, and this is where your film will go. And you can see through, there's the shutter and the aperture. Right, let's put some film in this. Let's just zoom you out because that's a bit too close for comfort. Here's our 35mm film. It goes in this way up, and this is called the leader. So we pop that in there. That drops down in to hold it into place. This comes across. Let's see how easy this new film loading system is. This film has been used so many times, it's just a test film. So you feed the leader into this, he says, and then you wind on the lever. It does look like it's a pretty easy loading system actually. So you can see there it is loaded on. I'll zoom that back in, get it to 2 times, there we go. And then, yeah, you can see that's lined up. Very easy to load actually, a lot easier than some of the cameras I've demonstrated. Close the back up. The frame counter should have reset to a couple of places before 0. So 1, 2. This is ready to take our first photograph. Cool. Fold that across. Unlike selenium cells, you don't have to leave the cap on, but when it's got a battery in it, yes you do, because if you put the cap on there's no light, it won't use any battery power. When you want to use it, take this off. It's a good way because the meter won't be working if you've got this on, so it's a nice little reminder, because it's very easy with non-SLRs to leave the lens cap on while you're taking pictures. Been there, done that, bought the t-shirt. See if we can look through. We can see in there in the centre is the image that you have to line up. A rangefinder is called a split image, so you'd have 2 images, and when they're in line, one on top of the other, that shows you that you're in focus. I don't think we can see the frames or the display at the top, which is there's a display at the top showing the apertures, and there's also frames in there. And I believe this one does actually have parallax correction as well. Yes, it does. So as the focus changes, the view frame inside changes. You can just about see very poorly. There's a box square. Just about, you can see there's a box square and that moves when you adjust the focus. So you can use this camera as it is with a Sunny 16 rule, an app on your phone, or an external light meter, no problem. But say I will take it apart and try and get the light meter working. Sorry, the light's jumping about a bit there. But yeah, very nice. These are quite fashionable with the old street photographers, and you can see why. They're quite discreet and non-threatening. Yeah, beautiful camera, metal, decent fast lens, 1.8. That's really fast lens actually. And yeah, beautiful camera. When you finish taking your pictures, it comes to time when you want to rewind, you can see this side's going round, so you know the film is being advanced through the camera. So yeah, taking all your pictures. When you get to your 20 or 36, it's time to rewind. You'll know you're at the end because you won't be able to advance it anymore. You push in this button at the bottom. Most cameras it stays in, which it does on this one. And then you pull this crank out, and then you wind. There's a bit of resistance, a little bit more resistance, and then all of a sudden you'll hear that noise and the resistance will sort of disappear. It'll become easier to turn. And when that happens, you'll be at this stage where the leader is still out. Now I do that because I develop my own films at home, so I want to keep this bit out because it's easier to load the developing tank. If you're sending it to a processing lab, you can just keep on winding as long as you like, really, because you're just going to wind that leader back into the cassette. But because I do my own processing, I always leave mine out. Ready to put your next film in and carry on shooting. So there you go, folks, that's the camera for today. Another lovely rangefinder camera from the 1960s, and I say launched in 1965 by Konica. It follows on from the Konica S, if I can find the Konica S, because I did that one not long ago. What's that one? That's a Petrie. So what did I do with the other Konica? I don't know. Too many cameras. Don't know where the other Konica is. But yeah, I think I've covered the Konica S. This is the S2. Rather than a selenium meter, it has a CDS meter, so it requires a battery. And they moved the photo cell in behind here, and the lens is faster. I think it was a 2.8 on the S, whereas this is a 1.8. But yeah, lovely little camera. Comments, questions, queries, etc. down below. I know some of you out there use this camera, this type of camera, quite regularly. So yeah, questions, comments, queries down below. Don't forget to like and subscribe and all that usual YouTube stuff. Look forward to seeing you in the next one.